Welcome back to the Functional Coaches Corner. I am Kayla. This is John. We are your teachers. Buckle up for this super spicy lesson today. This is a topic that we were just talking about, and we had to say, stop. We just have to record because we were starting to get a little bit heated, mainly me.
Tell us what you were getting heated about.
Okay. The whole debate of is it your hormones or is it your habits? And we're going to talk about the habits that are specifically wrecking your client's hormones or maybe your own hormones, because that is a very real thing. Our habits definitely drive dysfunction or optimization or whatever you want to look at it. I definitely think that our habits can influence that. I've been there myself. A lot of us have been there. So I understand that. But when you are a coach and when you are a business owner and you're marketing, it's not your hormones, it's your habits. I understand the message, but that isn't sticky enough for your potential client
Yeah,
because
it's like calories in, calories out, right?
because they truly believe it's their hormones. So maybe it's not, maybe they have these really bad habits, but they still don't believe and they're not bought in that that's what's wrecking their hormones. So you just saying and dismissing their opinion, it makes them feel stupid. It makes them feel like you can't help them. And they're going to go find somebody else who's talking about hormones. And guess what? That coach is going to do? They're going to fix their habits. And that person's going to go on to see a lot of success and also, being able to support their hormones as well. So you just lost out on a couple clients. I just personally don't think that sells well. It's back to the marketing principle of bringing people in for what they think they need and give them what they actually need. And so when you're on your high horse and it's not your hormones, it's your habits, and you're not going in deeper as to why that is, people are just going to be like, you don't know what you're talking about, or like, you're not the coach for me. But truly, they need you. They need you to give them better habits because you can, and you're a good coach. So I think if you're going to market that it's your habits and not your hormones, you're just blaming your hormones, you have to actually expand on why that is. Otherwise, it's not going to land. That's my
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's like going back to like the calories in, calories out thing. So many coaches, so many influencers online are like, well, if you're not losing weight, you're not in a calorie deficit. And it's like, you know how you get into a calorie deficit? You can eat 1 calorie a day. You're going to be in a calorie deficit, guaranteed. Okay, but like your hormones influence this law of thermodynamics. So like if you are not losing weight, you are eating too much. I would disagree with that statement. Like I'd say if you're not losing weight, yes, you're in a calorie deficit, but does that mean you're eating too much?
Mhm.
What if your hormones are impacting, especially your number one hormone that regulates your body temperature and like your thermodynamics? What if that is affected and you actually like to get into a calorie deficit, you literally need to eat 500 calories a day?
Yeah, that's the gap that's not being bridged. And a coach friend of mine, and I forget who this was. It had to have been like one of two people I'm thinking about. Said, "Y'all are having almost the same conversation. You're very close. You're very close because all this is true thermodynamics, but what's impacting thermodynamics is hormonal health." And she said it so well. And I'm like, that's the stickiness that people need to see to buy into what you are going to help.
Yeah, because we know that like if you put on 10 pounds of muscle and you have better sleep and your thyroid, you get the right nutrients and your thyroid is nice and balanced and regulated and your testosterone is at a decent level. Like all of these things are going to increase your basal metabolic rate by probably 10 to 20%.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. So with that, let's go into some habits that actually do influence our hormones. And let's actually give some tangible takeaways and let's show people that, hey, you really might be damaging your own hormones with these behaviors. And then people are going to want to say, okay, cool. I can change this because I actually know that this is driving this. So, going to talk about a few of them today just to list them out for you guys so you guys can follow along. So we're going to talk about sleep. We're going to talk about alcohol, drinking alcohol. We're going to talk about stress management or lack thereof. we're going to talk about undereating in general, and then we're going to talk about endocrine disruptors, which is a big one. I love talking about that one. So let's talk about sleep habits. Is it just not getting enough sleep? Is it not getting enough deep sleep? Is it the time you go to sleep? What sort of things do you see, John, that correlate to poor hormones when it comes to sleep habits?
Yes. The answer is yes. So the biggest like driver of like rest recovery, like muscle growth is going to be your deep sleep. So I'm going to start there all the way down in the nitty gritty. There's a lot of things that affect deep sleep. Caffeine definitely affects deep sleep. Also, like stress and being like in this sympathetic nervous state is going to affect deep sleep and keep you away from deep sleep. So that's where you get your most restful sleep. That's where human growth hormone is highest. So that's going to stimulate like muscle growth, but it's also going to keep leptin and ghrelin, your hunger and satiety hormones, at bay. So when we do see less deep sleep, we usually see less recovery, slightly more hunger.
Mm,
When we start getting into like total duration of sleep, so like as the duration decreases from like 7 to 8 hours, is like the generally accepted time frame. As it decreases from there, not including deep sleep, we do see significant spikes in hunger hormones. We also see insulin sensitivity decrease. If you don't get enough deep sleep, if you don't get enough duration sleep, it's going to affect your blood sugar regulation. It's going to affect your hunger, and it's going to affect your recovery.
right.
90% of coaches probably say like sleep is important, but I don't think people realize how important it
Yeah,
is
like why is it important? Why is it
and why.
important? And how can we improve our habits to have better sleep? So are you going over your sleep hygiene with your clients? Are you asking them what are they doing, 2 hours before bed? What are they doing at first thing them when they wake up? Because a good nighttime routine starts in the morning and it's a cycle. So yes, and if you are a coach just telling your clients to sleep more, that is also not effective, especially if you're coaching parents of kids. So if you are coaching parents of young kids or somebody who struggles with something that they can't control, like they wake up in the middle of the night due to kids running in the room or whatever, you just have to understand that and know that those things are going to be affected and maybe either supplementing with some things or just knowing that in your protocol that things might look a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I personally am not the best sleeper, but generally I've started to find a pretty good mix of things. It's magnesium glycinate at night, getting some sort of like daylight in my eyes during the day, cutting off caffeine at 10, 11 a.m., not eating too close to bedtime, but sometimes also having a snack if you're hungry going into bed. And then I found a decent sleep supplement that I do. I think it's SFI/Claire Labs. They have a sleep support, and it finally has like all the heavy hitters. It's got glycine, GABA, L-theanine, I believe those three, and valerian. Those are all my big. Those are very good individual supplements. Then you have a supplement that brings them all together.
Yep.
Sign me up.
I love sleep supplements. I love my Legion Lunar. You turned me
Yeah,
on to.
that's a great one.
And I will say though, the best sleep supplement is just wake your ass up early one morning and
That too.
then just like reset your clock.
Yeah, even with me personally, and I see this with clients. Once you start digging, it's like, well, my sleep's off, but like I slept in this day, I took a nap. Those things mess your sleep up.
Yep.
Like sleeping in, taking naps, full stop, they mess up your sleep.
I struggle if I go to sleep too early. If I go to sleep too early, I for some
Yeah,
reason just don't get the best sleep and I'll wake up really early and then I'm like, wait, I just went to bed at 8:30. Like what?
yeah.
I need to
I,
push it.
I'd even, yeah, exactly. I'd rather say like go to sleep at like 10, really tired, than at 8:30.
And then your peak growth hormone is between that 11 to 2. So if you're somebody who stays up really late till like midnight or 1 just because you're a quote unquote night owl, you're going to really struggle with gaining muscle mass and recovery and then everything else that potentially low testosterone can lead to. Okay, cool. We have sleep. Now let's talk about drinking alcohol.
It's gonna tank testosterone and increase estrogen.
Yeah.
Funny little anecdotal story. I had a client who I kind of just did like one-off labs and things like that for him. His labs, we do the labs, they come back pretty good, but his testosterone is super low. I'm like, what the heck? Everything else looks pretty good. I know you work out, you've lost a bunch of weight. All right, whatever. Let's implement this protocol. 6 months later, we redo labs. Everything looks better. Great. Awesome. His testosterone, I think, got worse. Like we're talking like 300, 250. Not really any signs of low T either. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And we do labs again, and like his testosterone dropped more. I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like, all right, so these are all the influences of it. You got to be straight with me. You have any idea? Because like we've done the supplements, we've done the vitamin D, we've done the sunlight, we've done all these things. And he goes, well, it could have been the couple beers I had each time before getting blood work done.
So just a couple beers before blood work, and it's gonna tank it
Yeah,
that
like
quickly? There
4 or 5 hours.
4 or 5
So
hours before blood work.
yeah, like, he did his blood work in the afternoon or not afternoon, evening, sorry, and
Okay.
then, like, maybe had, like, happy hour beers or something like that.
That is
Yeah.
crazy.
So that's, like, real life scenario of what
Yeah.
alcohol does to testosterone. Oh, we got his testosterone. We did a Dutch test, stuff like that. It wasn't as high as I'd like it to be, but, like, he actually avoided alcohol and, like, did the Dutch test the right way, and it was better. It was,
Okay.
a couple 100 points better.
Yeah, I mean, if I have in my luteal phase, so we've got our follicular phase, we ovulate, we have our luteal phase, and we have our bleeder cycle. In my follicular phase, I can pretty much, like, live the life I want. I can do whatever I want. In my luteal phase, if I touch sugar, if I touch alcohol, my cycle always is so much worse.
Yeah.
I attribute that to, the alcohol. I mean, the sugar too, that's a whole other thing, but the alcohol definitely, like, as it increases estrogen, and if we have the high estrogen, we're having a little bit harder of a time with our cycle as well. It's a little heavier, it's a little, more crampy, we're seeing more side effects, and so with my athletes, I have to really make sure, like, "Hey, in your luteal phase, I know you're gonna want, like, the wine and the chocolate and all of that,
Yeah.
but it could make your cycle worse." Not everybody, but that's a real life example of, okay, how alcohol can disrupt hormones. And if your clients are drinking every night or every other night, but they're putting it in their macros,
Yeah.
don't even get
I
me
mean, it's
started.
gonna affect sleep. Like, it's gonna alcohol is a depressant and then a stimulant. I see it so often, even myself in the past. If you're gonna drink, like, make it, like, worth it.
If you're gonna drink, have a good time and drink a lot.
Well, it doesn't have to be a lot, but, like, yeah, have a good time or whatever, but I would recommend staying away from that, like, have a glass of wine 1 glass of wine every night. 'Cause
Right.
that's gonna mess things up worse. You're like, "Saturday night, I'm gonna have 3 or 4 drinks." And, again, maybe Sunday you're not gonna feel great or whatever. That's probably going to disrupt less hormonally. Once you pass, like, 3, it starts to
Uh,
slide. But,
Slippery slope.
yeah, but or, like, a couple times a year, you just let it go, right? And then you hop back into it. I kinda like that methodology if we're talking purely progress hormones, not like problems or binge drinking or anything.
Right, right. That's different. So drinking, definitely. Um, I mean, it just also leads to just making, as we know, just not great decisions with food.
Yeah. Yeah. And that day and the next day, right? Like everybody's like, "Oh, it shuts off fat burning for 24 hours." Yes. I don't know about that. In my mind, logically, it is a toxin, so your body is going to prioritize getting that out. So yes, if you eat a bag of potato chips and drink a couple drinks, that hour or 2 or 3 that it takes to get the drinks out of your system, you're storing the potato chips as fat.
Let me ask you this. I was really big on this when I found this out, like 2020, 2021, and it was along the lines of what you said. So when you are drinking alcohol, your body prioritizes detoxifying it and getting it out. So let's say you hit a really hard workout. You train hard, you're PRing, you know that you did some damage. Like you had a really good training session. You go to brewery afterward and you drink some beer. Does that ruin your progress? Does it stop muscle protein synthesis? What are your thoughts on that?
Definitely slows it down a bit. It was in a corporate job. You had like wine, half price wine Wednesdays. You had Thursday, like 50-cent beers. And I've always been like pretty regiment. Like I've never like got out for drinks every night or whatever. I know that that's common in like the New York City area. So one day weeknight, and then like one night on the weekends or whatever. But I would never lift on those days, only cardio.
Yeah.
Because I mean, from all the research I read at least at the time, yeah, it's like you might as well have not lifted.
Okay, so my husband very much lives and dies by that. We schedule our whole week around, okay, are we gonna have like a drink or two? Or he'll lift that morning and then we'll go out and he'll decide not to drink, which is fine, totally fine. I think that's great. If you're around people who are drinking, you decide not to drink, I think that's really great. Like good for you. So he's very much on that. For me, well, if I have one or two, I don't think it's that big of a deal for me,
Yeah,
you know.
probably not.
To each their own, to each their own. If you are somebody who is very serious on a muscle, gaining journey, then that's something to look out for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
There's right ways and wrong ways, to do it.
Right.
I'm sure.
But if your client comes back and is always like, "Hey, why am I not building muscle?" and there's
Yeah, it could
uncovered.
be.
Let's talk about stress. Everybody has stress, so telling your clients to just like not stress, don't worry about it. I mean, has it ever gone well for you in your life? Would you tell somebody just to
Chill out.
wow, no. So we all have stress and we all have ways of either managing it or not managing it. So when we're not managing stress very well, how can that affect our hormone?
The biggest hormone in stress response or the maybe one of the most impactful is cortisol. What is it? What's the physiological response? Cortisol increases blood pressure. It liberates glucose out of your liver and dumps it into your bloodstream, gets you ready to fight or flight. It's gonna like constrict your pupils, better vision. It's gonna increase your heart rate, makes you ready to fight, essentially. So acute stress isn't really a big deal. I was actually talking to a client this morning about this. She has a dog. I'm like, that dog was asleep behind her. Every once in a while, pops up, goes absolutely wild for a squirrel outside, lays back down, goes back to sleep. Now, say that dog was sitting there all day looking at squirrels and just barking constantly all day.
Yeah, that's a really great
That's what
focus.
that's what a lot of people go through, right? You get
Yeah.
dumped on at work, then you go and do a crazy CrossFit workout, and then you come home and screamed at by a kid or whatever. And then you don't get sleep. And like that's like the dog looking out the window all
Yep.
day. Where's the squirrels? Where's the squirrels? Let's go get them.
Great analogy.
So that's going to make all of those things happen constantly. It's going to make your blood pressure keep going up, right? And that can cause downstream effects of chronic high blood pressure, kidney issues, things like that. It's going to keep dumping blood sugar in your bloodstream. It's going to make you insulin resistant if we're talking about hormones.
Yeah.
And again, doesn't make like fat loss and goals impossible. Hormone issues don't make them impossible. It just goes back to, do we have to eat 2 calories to be in a calorie deficit? Or can we actually eat a sensible amount of calories?
How low can we go or how high can we stay essentially? When you are insulin resistant and you have all this, blood sugar running through your body, you're not making the best choices with food either.
Yeah. Yeah. Your body wants to replenish the sugar, gives you craving. If you're under chronic stress, your adrenals just get really tired. So adrenals are what produce cortisol, DHEA, things like that. And this is probably like years of chronic stress, a
Okay.
couple years of chronic, or like a really bad, like, let me think of an example. I recall a client who had like a spouse die, a parent die, you know, crazy work in the matter of 4 months. Absolute hit by a bus.
Mm,
The enormous amount of stress could cause long-term adrenal fatigue. Even if like the stress goes away, you're stuck in this fight or flight traumatic state. Your adrenals just keep going and they run out of juice. And then finally it's like, I give up. And so sometimes these people like just can't get out of bed and, maybe lose their appetite or have appetite dysregulation or something like that. So then if your adrenals shut down for women, especially, women can produce, I mean, everybody produces DHEA, which is a precursor to testosterone in their adrenals. And so I believe women also can produce some testosterone directly from their adrenals, if I'm not mistaken. These pathways are going to be impaired.
Going to the under eating part, yeah, there's a lot of, and myself included, I would say stress. I'm a stress like under eater. A lot of people are stress overeaters. It really just, everybody has a different flavor. If I'm very stressed, I can go all day not thinking about food. So let's talk about under eating. If we do that chronically, how that affects hormones.
Chronically, when we're under eating, your body is going to actually, if you undereat and then also lose weight, your body's going to upregulate your hunger hormones. Our body has these fail safe mechanisms. They're going to basically say, eat more. If your normal level of hunger is here and you undereat or even lose weight, your body is going to increase those hormones and go up here. This is like the pathway the GLP-1s work at. They work on these pathways to mute those signals so that your body, instead of your body saying, look, I'm under eating, I'm going to make you hungrier to eat more, the GLP-1s interfere with that and say, like, actually, like you're under eating. Let's not tell anybody. So you've got like that dynamic. And then the other thing is like, when you start under eating, your body's going to down regulate pretty much all the processes. And what I tend to see first and foremost is you downregulate your NEAT, your non-exercise activity. You downregulate your activity, like your exercise expenditure. Instead of using, 35-pound dumbbells, you're like, I use 25-pound dumbbells. So that gets downregulated. You drop a little bit of calorie burn. Then you're going to start to downregulate some of the other activities. So, like on the calls, you're swinging your arms. Like if you feel like I have some energy, let me go get some steps, like stuff like that. You're going to start to downregulate those things. Next up, your hormonal pathways start downregulated. So we'll see a drop in thyroid hormone production. So generally, that gets downregulated. Sex hormones, especially in women, are going to be some of the first to go. And I'm talking like chronic undereating. First step is lose a period. Well, first step is like if you were to measure hormones, they're probably going to be downregulated,
For
all
sure.
else equal.
Been there.
Um, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone across the board. Then they're going to downregulate. So you got thyroid hormones, you downregulate sex hormones. Then probably woman loses her period because it's the body's like, I'm not ready to reproduce. So
Okay.
let's cut it off. And then you start seeing digestive processes downregulated. So the parietal cells of the stomach, which make stomach acid, actually do require a minimum amount of protein, especially, but just energy to operate. So low stomach acid, which is really common, is a lot of times a symptom of undereating.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've lived it. I've been to a point where I've underate for me for a long time, and thyroid, like TSH started climbing up. I had thyroid related symptoms. This wasn't too long ago for me. Started eating more, don't feel cold, don't feel tired. It's just we can really influence our hormones by our habits. Weird how that works. But again, if you teach this to your audience or to your clients, people are more bought in to do the habits that you're asking them to do. Like, oh,
Absolutely.
if I don't XYZ, then I'm gonna like F up my hormones. Yeah, say less. I will do this. But if you're just like, oh, you just need to do this, they're gonna be like, this is dumb. Like, why am I doing this? Why did I pay you for? Obviously, I get like really worked up on that because like we just can't, be yelling at people without that context because that's not helpful. Let's talk about this last one. This is really interesting. This is something that I got into looking at, like, started like 2019, 2020. I started reading Dr. Jolene Brighton's Beyond the Pill. And so she talked a lot about this. Endocrine disruptors.
Yeah.
Bum, bum,
So
bum. Throw
I,
your
I
plug.
mean, these are kind of, well, either you got plastics, but like, so many things are endocrine disruptors. But like when we say endocrine disruptors, a lot of people jump to like BPA and plastics and stuff like that. It's broader than that. It's just any sort of environmental toxin. So you have your plastics. You also have like pesticides. So if you have a house, how often do you see people, oh, I'm going to go spray the weeds or whatever? That's toxic. That's going to mess with your hormones. Meal delivery services that come in those plastic containers. Yes, they are technically microwave safe, but it's how much plastic leaches in there. It's like the microwave safe says that only this much plastic will leach and only this much plastic is quote safe. It's not going to essentially kill you. Maybe after building up over time and messing your hormones up, you've got sunscreen, you've got cosmetics, you've got cleaning supplies, you've got fragrances, you've got dryer sheets, you've got
This
soap.
conspiracy theory that the reason why all us millennials are all effed up is because we like lived in Bath and Body Works body butter and lotion and had all that scented candles, and that was our childhood. That was our high school, that was our college. And I cannot even walk by that store without wanting to, oh, it's so bad. If somebody gets me a gift and I donate it.
All these fragrances are they're chemicals, and if you ingest enough of them, they're going to interrupt your signaling processes. Here's an easy test. If you are sensitive to smells, so there's two kind of like dynamics to this test. I always ask my clients, I'm like, okay, so I want to understand a little bit more about like your liver detoxification. Let's use an example, Bath and Body Works or like a scented candle or something like that. Do you ever walk by there and you're like, oof, I can't handle that. I start getting headaches, I tear up, things like that. That could be a sign of like a clogged lymphatic
Interest
system or a liver detoxification issue, body detoxification issue. So that's one thing. The other thing is if somebody is generally like avoiding of those things, doesn't put any scents on, uses unscented canned stuff, like doesn't use scented dryer sheets or it doesn't have scents anywhere, like it's normal for them to be sensitive to
Sure.
these smells as well.
Yeah.
Like doesn't mean initially it's like your detox pathways are clogged. But if people aren't kinda anal about that stuff and, like, they're like, you can't handle that type of stuff, it's telltale sign that their pathways are a little bit clogged.
Can you also talk about how these endocrine disruptors can alter estrogen?
So, essentially, these do mimic estrogen, and a lot of times they will cause your body to either produce more estrogen or reduce testosterone production. Different people are going to have different extents where this happens. A lot of this goes back to like detoxification and things like that. I personally, anecdotally, find people whose detox pathways are clogged, aka people who are generally constipated or have bathroom issues, are generally much more sensitive to these things. Whereas the people that are like, I go every day, no problems, all good, feel like $1,000,000 afterwards, are going to have better detoxification pathways, at least that phase 3 detox, and they're less impacted by these things. Doesn't mean they aren't still impacted, but they're less.
So I think that was a really great overview of just 5 habits that can really alter your hormones, your client's hormones, and things that you can talk about with them right away, starting today. And you can even talk about it on your intake form. You can talk about it in content. You can give a little bit more of a educated explanation as to why it is your habits and not your hormones. We are at the time that this is released, we're about 6 weeks away from launching our next cohort of GHMC. So if you want to be able to have
Holy
these
cow.
conversations and really riff with your clients and really be able to help them understand their hormones, their gut health, their advanced nutrition on that next level, this is where you need to be. And the cool thing about GHMC is that this is an extensive 12-week mentorship. You're not just left to your own devices. This is a mentorship where you actually can learn and apply right away and not feel like you need another mentorship after this. You're going to feel
Yeah.
super, yeah, you're just going to feel super knowledgeable, but also you're not going to feel as scattered. You're going to feel more in control of your coaching, which is all of our students that we've had have grown significantly since taking this course. And so it is a course as well as mentorship that you keep the course for life. We do not kick you out. So unless we're not around, like you'll have it forever, which is great. You'll also get all the additions that we make to it as well. And with this mentorship, you have exclusive access to John and I, 2 support calls a week, and a group chat, no annoying Facebook group. And so the support is just really unmatched. It's everything that you need to take a deep dive into this and really expand your coaching, expand your business, and just expand your confidence overall. We are about 6 weeks away from launching that, which is or from starting that, which is absolutely insane. We're also going to be having a masterclass at the end of March, March 23rd, 24th, and 25th. We're going to be going deep dive into lab work, into client cases. And we ran this last year and it was a lot of fun. So you're going to see what it's like to be a GHMC student for 3 days.
Absolutely.
Cool. So we'll catch you on the next one and we'll put the link down here to look through all of our stuff, get some free coaching tools that you can start implementing today. And we will catch you guys on the next one.
See you on the next one.